Hi all, I wanted to talk with you about what it means to be pulling yourself forward with your thighs as opposed to pushing yourself forward with your glutes and your abdominals when you're jogging or running. It's really a function of how your pelvis sits on top of your thigh bones or your femurs. So if I have a pelvis with which either one side or both sides tilt too far forward, you can see how my pelvis comes forward onto my thigh bones. That is actually hip flexion, which means that the muscles that run from my spine to my thigh bone, the psoas, and the one that runs from my hips down to my knee are tightening to hold that position. This means that anything that I do flexing the hip, which would be either bringing the pelvis more forward on top of the thigh bone or bringing the thigh bone up toward the pelvis. This is all flexion, and this all becomes very easy because, again, that's the direction that everything is moving in towards. So flexion becomes easy. So let's go ahead and take that position again. This is neutral with a nice natural curve supported by my abdominals, hamstrings working to anchor my pelvis, back of the thighs, right? Holding everything together. If both sides of my hips tilt forward, you can see what happens to my back, right? My low back tightens, my hip flexors tighten. Moving my thigh bone this way is easy. However, in this position, moving my thigh bone backwards is very difficult. This is called extension. And so when my hips are in flexion, flexion is easy, but with this low back tighten, this pelvis forward, moving my hip backwards is difficult. Let's go back to our neutral position. So I'm anchored, level. Now let's extend. See, I have so much more movement this way because my pelvis is not in flexion. My hips are not in flexion. So what does that mean when I run? Well, in order for me to be able to propel myself forward, I need to be able to extend my hip and move myself forward. So if I am stuck in this flex position, I am not able to extend, and so I'm not able to really utilize my glute muscle to push me forward. And we know from our previous talks, if I have so much curve here, that means my abdominals are being pulled long in the front, and they're not able to work very well either because they're pulled too long. They've lost their ability to pressurize and to be able to contract. So as a result, when I go forward, I can move my leg into flexion. I can't move into extension. So my thigh muscles, my hip flexors will pull my leg forward to bring that leg forward. Now, when I do that, so I'm in flexion, I'm bringing my leg forward as if I'm running. My leg doesn't quite, it gets out here, and then my heel will end up coming down onto the ground. Or if I'm actually able to it'll be more of a mid-foot towards the arch or heel landing. And you can see that when I do that, so I'm coming forward, right? I'm here, I'm in flexion, I put my foot down, my torso ends up behind my hip as this leg and this pelvis comes forward, this hip comes forward, as opposed to if I'm in neutral and now I'm able to actually have extension. So, I come forward, now I'm going to be able to push back, my leg's going to come up, it's going to end up stopping about here. And now my body will be over top of my hip because, again, I'm trying to propel myself forward. If I don't have the ability to do that on the back end with the push, I'm going to over exaggerate the front end through here, and that's going to leave me behind, right? That's the only way I have to go. So that's the difference between what you're using when we're talking about, are you pulling your leg forward, or am I actually using my glute and my ab to pull myself forward? And what that ends up doing with your body position. Again, we want to make sure that we are pressurized, that we've got the cylinder supporting proper torso and pelvis position, and that we're utilizing the proper muscles to take that joint through its range of motion so that we minimize wear and tear and we maximize everything being centered where it's supposed to be while we're going through this activity. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. You know that I'm always available to answer these questions. And I hope that made a little bit of sense or helped clear up some of what we're talking about when we say, hey, what's moving you forward? What's getting you towards your end goal? Thanks so much and have a great day.